Hello and welcome to Scary Movie and a Sandwich, a show all about comfort foods and horror movies. I'm your host, Artem Yatsanov. On every episode of Scary Movie and a Sandwich, my guests and I pair a perfect sandwich with a carefully curated horror film, and together we dive deep and digest and dissect the hidden layers and hidden meanings of both the sandwich and the movie. Our show is recorded at Keyframe Studios in sunny Hollywood, California, and is produced by Craig Lewis. Our show is edited by Zoe Hellings. Zoe Hellings is a filmmaker to watch, working out of Los Angeles, California. And you can follow Zoe's work at zoe.hellings on YouTube and Instagram. Our horror synopsis correspondent is, as always, the intrepid Antonia Lassar. You can follow Antonia's work at Antonia Lassar on Instagram and TikTok, as well as on her podcast, Yenta Pod. And lastly, our original artwork comes from our master of visuals, Luther Thompson. You can follow Luther's work at Tats Thompson on Instagram. We're so excited to have you with us on Scary Movie and a Sandwich, a show for anyone who's ever been afraid or hungry. Enjoy.
I have like a funny little pitch on what to do about our sandwich situation.
Yeah.
Which is, because this movie is so like frothy, I was really enchanted by like a sweet sandwich, because there's so much in this movie that's so dark, but then there's this like kind of silly, playful undertone.
I do think frothy is a good adjective.
In this deep, dark film.
Yes.
What about a cookie sandwich?
Love that. I love that. Yeah. It's rich, it's decadent, but it's also
substanceless.
It's also substanceless, but also it's a little like, it's got a little like peasant element to it too.
Yeah.
It's
like you can carry it around in your pocket.
Yeah.
I was like, what's a silly solution to this?
Oh my god, I love it. Troubleshooting already. Welcome to Scary Movie and a Sandwich, with me, your host, Artem. This is a show where we talk about scary things and cozy foods. Today on the show, I have a fantastic guest. They are a tabletop creative. They are also a costume designer. They are a role player. They are a professional and highly lauded streamer and part of several, so many different streaming production companies. They're a performer. I think you do some writing as well. Mm-hmm. You write. I'm assuming you direct as well.
No,
you
God,
don't.
No,
Okay. Notably, not a director.
No.
Just everything else. Folks, it is my pleasure. Today on the show with me is Cai Kagawa. Welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
We have a particularly unique movie today that I think really plays around with how it tells the story.
Oh
Cai, would you introduce for us what we're watching, what we're eating today?
Of course. So we watched the 2016 Korean-Japanese co-production film, The Handmaiden. Mm-hmm. And it was such an adventure.
Yeah.
Adventure is like an understatement.
And we'll just say right here, it is not a traditionally horror movie. No. But there are so many elements of it that are tense and frightening and shocking.
Yeah.
That I thought it would be really compelling to talk about it. Because again, that question of like, well, how do you tell a story? And I think the director of the team, they're using a lot of horror tropes, but they're doing a lot to play with like the tension of the viewer.
Oh my god, yeah. This movie's very stressful to watch.
That's right. Yeah. And so what are we eating?
So we had a sandwich.
This is true.
I thought it would be really fun to do a Japanese fruit sando.
Very hot right now.
Yeah, which are frothy like cream sandwiches, but they're a Japanese take on a European tea sandwich, which is also very relevant.
Oh my god.
For this story.
Okay, yeah, that really tracks.
Then they weren't available.
Yeah, we're filming this in a day that there's also a big cycling event happening in LA. So a lot of unexpected twists and turns already.
Yeah,
this has been a twist and turning day. Part of the movie.
Yeah.
So we're recalibrating. The fruit sando's out.
Yeah, fruit sando is out, sadly.
Tear, shed a
Sad.
tear.
Shed every tear. But I was like, what's another like funny way to hook into that like frothiness? And for the fruit sando, it was very like someone has to prepare it, right? That's like the whole thing is tea sandwiches are prepared for people.
Right.
But what if we go the other way? And take cookies and make a cookie sandwich? Equally silly.
Yep.
Differently wonderful.
Yeah, and also there is an indulgent and somewhat, you could say, decadent element about it, which I feel like this movie also plays with.
So maybe
Yes.
your favorite producer has cookie sandwiches on the way.
Oh, you're the best.
You are hearing the voice of the one and only Craig Lewis.
My
We are
God, I'm
coming
so
to
excited.
live hot in here in the studio, Keyframe Studios in LA. Craig, hats off to you. I love
A
it.
hero in our time.
I do what I can.
Incredible. So, folks, I'm gonna say this huge disclaimer for folks who have
yeah.
not seen The Handmaiden. I think this is a great moment to pause the pod to go and watch The Handmaiden. It is a 2.5 hour movie where I feel like not a single second is wasted. There's constant surprises and twists and turns. And unlike any other movie that I've talked about on this show, I feel like it really is good to watch this movie without having it spoiled at all, because the trailer does a good job of not letting you know.
I had no
anything.
idea. I was like, let's find out a little bit about this movie before I go watch it, or before we start getting into the meat of it. And I read a summary, I watched the trailer, I asked a friend about it, and all three of them did not prepare me.
It's amazing, and I think they really knew what they were doing by going the trailer will be exciting, but it'll have really nothing to do with what happens in the movie. We have all the results for you now. Enjoy.
Hey there, sandwiches. It's me, the best part of the episode, Antonia. A hold for applause. Okay, hi everybody. Today we are talking about The Handmaiden, which is one of the rare movies that I've actually seen. And honestly, not that scary. I wouldn't even consider it a horror movie. There were probably some jump scares that I closed my eyes for, but honestly, fun lesbian romance. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about it. To set the scene, we're in 1930s Korea. It's under Japanese occupation. This story has 3 parts. Part 1, we meet Suki. She's a hot queer pickpocket. I mean, I'm not sure she would identify as queer, but she's for sure queer. She's a pickpocket. She gets hired by this con man whose fake name is Count Fujiwara. He's pretending to be a count. He's not a count. And they hatch this plan. Count Fujiwara is going to seduce this rich lady, Lady Hideko, also hot queer love. And he's going to seduce Lady Hideko, marry her, get her entire fortune, and then commit her to an asylum, which is crazy. Feels very 1930s to be committing people to asylums. And he's basically enlisted Suki, our first hot queer lady, because Suki is going to be Lady Hideko's handmaiden, hence the title, The Handmaiden. And Suki is basically going to gain her trust and encourage her to fall in love with fake Count Fujiwara. Then we meet the hot Lady Hideko. She's hot. She's rich. She doesn't know that she's queer yet, maybe, but she will soon. But her life is hard because she has this crazy uncle, Kazuki. He's really wealthy. He is incredibly controlling, will not let her do anything. She's yes, she is very wealthy, but she is very much in another kind of prison. And Kazuki is a weird, creepy vibe. He does this thing where he collects rare erotica, which we love. Okay, we're sex positive here. And then he auctions it off in these private readings in his dungeons. And he gets Lady Hideko, his niece, to read the erotica. And so she's doing these sexy readings for all of these lecherous rich men. And bad vibe. She's his niece. Not great. And then, they auction off the manuscripts. Then Suki, the handmaiden, and Hideko, the rich lady, start to bond. You could imagine hair brushing, let me help you undress, and then let me lick some part of you. So they start to bond, fall in love a little bit. They start hooking up. It's very fun. And then basically Suki starts to feel guilty about scamming Hideko. Then part 2, we get Lady Hideko's perspective on everything that just happens. We go back to the beginning and we see it all from her perspective. And we learn that Lady Hideko has actually been secretly collaborating with the con man, fake Count Fujiwara. Honestly, incredible twist. And they basically come up with a new plan, which is to trick Suki, the handmaiden, into being institutionalized in place of Lady Hideko. Drama! I mean, I love I love a deception. Then, third part of the story, we see it from Lady Hideko and Suki's perspective. So now Lady Hideko is feeling bad about betraying Suki because she has a crush on her. Suki is feeling bad about betraying Lady Hideko because she has a crush on her. They get together, admit it, and they decide to come up with this incredible plan to outsmart both of the men. And it's kind of an insane solution. They like pit the two of them against each other and they're like locked in the dungeons of the estate. The uncle chops off some of the con man's fingers and you're like, okay, I guess he's outsmarted him. But then the con man has cigarettes with poisonous smoke, and so then they both suffocate and die together from poisoned cigarettes filling the air. It's honestly so crazy. And then it's like very happy ending. Suki the handmaiden and the rich lady Hideko, they escape together. They take all the money. Suki the handmaiden starts posing as a man and Lady Hideko's husband. And final shot is like they're hooking up on a boat as they sail away from Korea. So juicy. For me, highly rated. Not that scary unless I'm like forgetting jump scares. There is like a crazy thing with an octopus who gets like brought out and like if someone displeases the uncle, the octopus then like penetrates that person. I don't know. It's like really fucked up. But I'm a fan of this. Queer representation is so important. And the part of the representation that's so important is as many sex scenes as possible. That's gonna save the culture. So Handmaiden, good movie. I hope the sandwich is good too. That's been broadcast from Antonia. I love you guys. Follow me on the internet. Bye.
Whoa. Okay. Hot synopsis. Well, we know a lot about the movie right now. Okay, so let's get into the tasty chats. Let's talk about what we're feeling and thinking about this movie. I think as a way to get into this movie, I want to just talk to you about you as an artist, because something that we really clicked on and we talked about, and the movies we selected all had something to do with a really distinctive design.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about costuming and styling and era.
Oh my gosh.
Tell us a little bit about your experience as a costume designer in general.
So my background and all of my many skills that I have earned over my years is I am a trained MFA costume designer. I am also a costume historian, done research for major film and television, for period, for, in this case, things like international movies like this one, designing those pieces and working in the world. I also know how to build these pieces, each of them being their own disciplines that people spend their whole lives working on, which is, wonderful. I have like a understanding that they exist and how to do a lot of them, but maybe not like the deepest dive. So like this movie goes deep into like traditions of dress and what they look like when they intermix, which I'll get into. But that's
what you mean by disciplines, is that like, oh, here's what different statuses of individuals would wear.
Well, and like the practice of making a suit, the practice of making and dyeing kimono, the many different types of costuming and histories of dress in this one movie. I could spend a year talking about them because there's so many of them. So for me, I am a mixed Japanese storyteller, costume designer. So not only do I have an interest in it as a costume designer and a costumer and a historian, but also I am mixed Japanese. Funny enough, though, my ancestors were gone from the area by this time.
Okay. Yeah.
But I know a lot about it.
Yeah, this is something that as I was kind of looking into it, I realized I imagine if anyone who lived in that area or anyone who has lineage connected to Korea and Japan during the early, because the movie takes place in the 1940s.
1930s.
1930s, thank you. This would be a very prescient time period. Whereas for Westerners, I think a lot of that is a little bit lost,
Deeply fraught era.
Yeah.
To the point where they're still trying to resolve things around this era. And there are still like multiple international civil liberties suits and things that exist about this era.
Wow.
And this whole movie is run through with them. Like one of the reasons I like horror as a genre is that there are cultural things that are talked about in interesting and different ways. But this movie looks straight at the like fraught history of the Empire of the Sun in Korea and all but says it out loud repeatedly. And it's very interesting because Japan in this era has fully colonized Korea. and has made it basically a surf state to Japan.
Yeah, I found that it was such a kind of beautiful choice to have the movie in both Korean and in Japanese, but also to have it really delineated for the audience, where certain subtitles are in one color and other subtitles are in a different color, so you can always see the code switching that's happening.
And there's so much of it.
Yeah,
There's so much code switching in this movie.
Yeah, because really it sort of starts to, per the title, The Handmaiden, it's about there's a big power dynamic, right? There's the haves and the have-nots. There's the colonized and the colonizers. It's a great setting for a story that's got a lot of tension going on. I was curious for you as a, as someone who thinks about these like period pieces. I think in period pieces we are particularly like keenly aware of costumes. It's like this definitely the times when I'm like the most aware of fashions and dress. What do you think draws people to stories about the past?
Using this kind of to frame it in, even the status and the hierarchy of dress used to be so clearly delineated. Like the origins of fashion were like segmented at this time of day, you change to this style of dress.
Whoa.
Which is why ladies
that's incredible
needed handmaidens, because it wasn't just what the movie's talking about where they had all these buttons in the back and all the underpinnings, but also like women of status up through essentially this era changed clothes like 5 to 6 times a day. They would wake up and they would have their morning outfit, and then often they would have like a walking outfit, a day dress for around the house, a tea dress to receive guests in the afternoon, and then maybe a like garden outfit, and then an evening outfit, and then they would go to bed.
That's amazing.
And so like the prescription of history of dress makes it very easy for people to like see the status difference. And then there's also subtle things that for me as a costume designer I'm always drawn to, of like, so in this movie you see like the Korean dress is largely segmented to the servants and the people outside of the home, but also there are eras within that of like older fashioned dress versus the like newer fashion dress. They really show this with the fake count. His way of dressing is very like modern, flashy European, and he talks a little bit about why he does that as well, which is, again, it's a way for him to grab at status since he was given none. Versus you see some of the people like milling around in the background especially are wearing like older like 1920s sack suits, which is a style of suit, versus the 1930s very like trim suit. And so people are drawn to it not only because they may or may not even understand all these nuances, but the difference between like someone who's wearing something that looks old-fashioned for the era that you're watching versus someone who looks very fashionable. So our heiress wears some very beautiful 1930s like very European styled dresses.
Yeah.
And it's very eye-catching, and she looks very fashionable.
It's interesting that you're saying that, because now that I'm thinking about it, is that I also was sort of saying, oh, these are beautiful dresses. I, as a Westerner, I'm recognizing them. And then realize, but now that you're kind of putting those two and two together, that there is an element of that itself is a kind of a status signifier. And there's a little bit of a pulling away from traditional to modern, and modern is now sort of associated to Western. And it's this blending of like eras, cultures. It's fascinating.
Yeah. And then you layer in, there's also uniforming for the servants. There's the military uniforms. There's all kinds of places where they show status through costuming that, unless you're in very like regimented parts of society today, you don't really see anymore, especially in a post-2020 world where a lot of people wear sweatpants, which is all great. We've kind of broken those norms, but it's why there was such resistance to it. Because we find comfort in the status of dress.
I was just doing Kimmy's advice podcast yesterday, and Mo Poplar is another designer in the role-playing games and board games. He just recently came back from Japan, and he used to live in Japan for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And he was there with his son, and he was telling us about, like, he was talking about fashion. And he was pointing out to his son, and he's like, everyone here has there's a push to have a very unique representation of your aesthetic. And he's like, but you see this dude over here who's wearing like a basketball jersey and baggy pants, and he seems to be a little bit frumpy. He's like, this guy's doing an American look. This is all of it might seem frumpy, but every piece is intentional, and he's doing a thing. Yeah. He's nodding to.
And I bet he has a closet full of jerseys and baseball hats.
That's right. Yeah. It's but anyways, but to bring it back to this time period, there's something about what you're talking about also is bringing up the theme of reinvention that is huge. And I think it's, I mean, you know, also coming from, I'm an immigrant myself, and I come from, you know, I was born in Soviet Ukraine when it was still in part of the Soviet. And that is a time period that I always thought of as this really harsh period of also reinvention, where it went from this sort of feudal tsarist kind of image in the world of like extremely wealthy merchants and noble class and like very, very peasant class. And then you had this sort of post-industrial revolution. And then you had the rise of the Soviet and the kind of the thing that they're kind of going for is we want to make ourselves look as a very elite, progressive in the sense of just like we've moved into the future, kind of like we are not just peasants who are drunk all the time. We don't do these, you know, backwoods cultural things. We don't do traditional dances anymore. We're not wearing this traditional, you know, drab peasant dress anymore. Yeah. We're all going to look differently, you know. And
in that era, folk dress kind of throughout the larger European continent was being either venerated or kind of separated. There was a lot of that going on, where in the like northern European regions there was a lot of folk dress as a form of nationalism, and then the response on the other side was a lot of folk dress is for peasants.
Since it's so removed from us, you know, we're so, you know, we're over 100 years in the future, not going to reflecting on the past, but it does kind of start to paint a picture of how much like our, you know, our lineage, or, you know, our ancestors, or, you know, our parents or grandparents had to sort of overcome in order to sort of be in a really different environment, and how much the culture changed. Yeah. Right. I do think that when we look back in the past, I think something you're bringing up that's really interesting is we really see these power dynamics really quickly delineated. And this particular movie, which is a lot of it is about power dynamics.
So much.
Let's can we chat a little bit about like, so this is like my kind of thought on this is, I really wanted to also talk to you about this because you are a consummate role play gamer, and there's a lot of role play going on in this movie.
So much.
And there's also something about this. This is such a like nerdy deep cut here for the people who are listening and watching this. If you're playing role playing games, this might make sense. But I was like, this movie could have been set in like Sword-Thirsty Lesbians, the game, or it could have been Good Society, or
oh my god, a Good Society version of this game.
Do you know what I mean? It's like everybody's playing a part, everybody has really different motivations, there's a lot of different things that are happening. The role-playing element, it really leans into the power element, which ends up sort of, we end up kind of talking about power in a lot of different ways. The way it's like, oh, there's the sexual element of power, there's the financial element of the power. Talk to me a little bit about your experience with just the idea of people kind of throughout this movie, sort of a cultural reinvention, but throughout this movie, people playing with power and they're like the shifting and dynamics. Like, what are some things that really stood out for you in that?
One of the just like masterful things about this movie, when I was thinking about it after, like the movie had just ended, I'm just sitting there thinking, wow, most of this movie was told through duets, through power dynamic conversations between at the most 3 people in the entire movie. It's a very like intimate power dynamic movie.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about this movie is how much the suspense isn't always about harm. It is about power.
Yeah.
And who has it in this moment and how does it shift? And it's one of my favorite parts about the difference between part 1 and part 2.
Right, and this movie's told in three parts. So,
yeah. And the thing about part 1 is that you think that our handmaiden has all the power, and that she's running around with all of the knowledge, because knowledge is another form of power in this movie.
Yep.
And including the way that the audience is given power in that particular context of like all the information of what books is she reading, what power does the uncle actually have. The whole like scary moment at the end of part 1 is that you find out that power was all fake, that she had no power in the entire moment, and then they give her power back. And one of the things that the story always loops back to is that honesty is another form of power in this story. And so it's like the very very textual like sexual power, and like the huge, not even like quiet commentary about the violence of war and power, because there's a huge undercurrent in this story about specifically during the Empire of the Sun, Japan was inflicting a lot of sexual damage on Korea. And so there's a whole like, if you know in this movie, 'cause that's where all the babies come from.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why there's so many babies at the beginning.
Once you contextualize, you realize, oh my god, this is like sexual violence on a massive
scale.
Yeah. Again, to sort of fill our audience in, it's like the handmaidens who are being taken from Korea, right, are brought into these Japanese homes to be servants. But where do the handmaids come from? Well, they're women who've been impregnated by who, right? And then so there's a kind of almost like an industry.
Well, this is one of the ongoing things that is being still kind of reparations are being paid and like things like that for specifically comfort women was the term. And it was women from areas that the Empire of the Sun had colonized that were forced to become sex workers by the Empire. And that's where all these babies are coming from. And it's why there's like such a deep, very personal Korean statement about like sexual power in this movie.
Yeah, I see. You couldn't really tell the story without talking about the sexual dynamics.
Yeah. And then they layer it with also the complexities of expectation of like money and family, but the huge statement about the hyper masculine power of sexuality in this movie. They spend so much time that you also don't see that the women are actually taking power constantly in this story. And it's one of the things that I think really draws people to this and why it is so uplifted is because even though this movie does have a lot of like masculine power fantasy sexualization, the other side of it is the story is about the women and the women refuting that and taking back power constantly, even if it is in sometimes very like frothy and superficial ways.
I love frothy. What a great
frothy.
This is a very this gave me frothy.
Yeah. There was some scenes where I was like, okay.
All right. It's funny. It's one of the criticisms the movie did receive is just the male gaziness of it. But there is something in that is also doing a kind of a meta commentary and that like, well, yeah, I get a story about a time when women were being constantly sort of objectified and very much controlled by a masculine presence. And so there's something about even in the choice of being so explicit with a lot of the sex scenes that there is a certain way of kind of nodding and saying, who is this really for?
Yeah.
Right. Something you said that I really love is that knowledge and is a form of power. I love that the twists of this movie are that you start out thinking that our main character is the handmaiden, and then part 2, our main character becomes
the heiress,
right? Yeah. And by the time we get to part 3, it's their stories have come together. I love a story with a what do you call it, questionable narrator or whatever.
Oh my god, so many unreliable narrators.
So many unreliable narrators, right? And it's so funny because everybody has a different motivation, and you keenly understand what they want, and you keenly understand how drastic and dramatic it is if they don't get what they want.
Yeah.
And again, not a typical horror movie, but a lot of the tension and the fear comes from these jarring moments of discovery. The storytelling, it really messes with you. Like there's a scene, like nothing about the storytelling tells you that you're going to experience so many social taboos.
Oh my god, all at once.
All at once. You are not prepared for the things that are socially would be things that would just be difficult to talk about. There are scenes of there's a scene of attempted rape. There's a scene of attempted suicide and somebody who's successfully commits suicide. There's scenes of mutilations. Like there's off-screen mutilations. There's on-screen mutilations. Like it is stuff that you don't expect, and you're like, what is the genre of this movie?
It's everywhere. It's like, everywhere.
I guess my question I was going to ask you is that, like, because I was fascinated with this idea of like the truth becomes a commodity in this movie, right? And then also the meta element of whose truth are we watching. Throughout, it is a queer love story.
Oh yeah.
We see these two women come together, and these two women kind of fall in love and pursue it and try to kind of work and figure out how to have it. What do you feel like is the power of that? Of the queerness in this film?
Oh my gosh.
Like what did that speak to?
First of all, I just love that the movie opens, you're like, oh, this poor handmaiden, she's gay. The way that she talks to a woman, you're like, oh, you're gay, babe.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so sad for you.
There's a great line where she goes, has anything I've ever cleaned or dressed this pretty? And I was like, oh my god. I'm sweating. This is just wow, what a doting and like oh man, yeah. It's like she might be not that into you, but you're really into her. but
Yeah, and the number of times that she asks, but is she beautiful? Is she pretty? It's like, okay, calm down. We understand. You're tragically gay.
Yeah.
But the it's
I'll
very
help.
sad.
I'll help, but is she hot? Because
Yeah,
if she's hot, I don't know what's gonna happen.
It's so funny, and the power of them having this it's very queer coded, not only in that it is queer, but also that it's a secret.
Yeah.
It is a secret that you see them not speak aloud until both of them tell each other the truth.
Yeah.
Because otherwise she's learning to be good for the count when they get married, which is the most hilarious cliche, and I absolutely enjoyed
I love
that.
it.
It was very funny to be like, okay, lesbian cliche.
It is
I
incredible.
love
Like,
this.
will it taste like this when the count kisses me? Yeah.
the
Will it feel like this? When
candy?
it's just like, this is some, this is hot. This is some
Yeah.
kinky stuff. But I love that it's been like, hey, it's not me.
It's for him.
Imagine I'm the count. Just imagine I'm the count.
Oh my
It's
God.
the role player of it all, right?
Yeah, and the queerness of all of these moments, having to kind of walk through the patriarchal society that they live in and hide it in that until she almost kills herself and all the truth comes out, and then suddenly it becomes like a punk rock kind of road trip to Japan.
That's right.
Where the truth is all out, and then they fully take it all the way when our heiress disguises herself as a man, and they have their big elopement to China, where they tick a lot of these, like, I keep using the word frothy because it is this almost like softcore fantasy of lesbianism, right?
Yeah. My interpretation of that is that the movie really speaks to desire and a fulfilled desire. And so with that, we're kind of like in, I don't know, the 50 Shades of Grey of it all. Like, we need to sort of see the manifestation of desire in order to like really appreciate these people's like circumstances. So like, is that frothy?
Yeah,
is that sort of in
there's
that
a lot
area?
of that. There's, I mean, like, literally the candy of it all, and like the sweetness, the almost like saccharine connection between these two women.
Yeah,
but then
frothy's good.
the most like profound thing that I found really interesting is that outside of all of that, still these two women do huge gestures of love and truth to each other. That is, to me, the most important part of the story. So they have these sex scenes to like bookmark these moments in the story for these two, but the truth and the intimacy of trust and the currency of trust in the story ends up being the real love story to me. Of, I trust that you're going to come get me in this asylum. I trust that you're going to talk me through, as I can't pretend to be a man very well. I can look the part, but if I open my mouth, no one's going to believe me. And so they have this kind of shifting power dynamic between the two women, where they're like playing Handmaiden. That moment of like dressing each other up and all of that stuff too is such a fun way of playing with the power dynamics from a social standpoint, while it's still being deeply queer and finding its place in this complicated, hyper masculinized world.
And there is something about the learning of how to appear status, right, that I think is also kind of a form of this like truth sharing, you know. And it also is like a big fuck you to like the gender norms, and sort of saying the gender norms, the power dynamics, and sort of saying, you know, like I mentioned this like quote that I think it's from an acting book. It's like from a David Mamet acting book. Where he's got this like quote that's like, hey, if you want to convincingly play a king on stage, just put on a crown and don't say anything that a king wouldn't say. just like you're a king, so boss people around, and if you're wearing a crown, people will be like, oh yeah, that's the king.
You're the king.
And there's something about that that's like, it's a bit about costuming. It's also about just leaning into what people are already expecting. Yeah. But a part of it is status is just is that simple. It's the power we give over. And so I think there's a real fuck you in her being like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be the countess, because as when we travel to China and then from China to Russia, because it seems like they have this whole like
they have a whole
thing.
plan.
It's like we might need to switch gears, and you might need to pretend like you're the one in charge. I might need to pretend I'm in charge. We might have to have some kind of a story, but they're learning how to work the system, and one is teaching the other. They're both teaching each other these like these are not even soft skills. These are skills necessary for survival as women in the society, right? It's fascinating.
Well, and like the costume and the constant statements about like what's a portrayal and what's true. Because our charlatan count,
Yeah.
who's also a forger, who's also 1,000 other things. I love this movie.
I feel like he would do really well in Hollywood. He's just wearing so
absolutely.
many hats. Yeah. He's ready.
But his whole thing is, if I buy a nice suit and I say I'm a count, people will believe me.
That's right.
Our handmaiden says that she's a poor girl from Korea and not a child of a master thief. People will believe her because she dresses the part of a poor girl from Korea. It's this whole like statement on costume, but it's basically like the emperor has no clothes. It is you only have as much power as people believe you have.
Yeah.
And the moment that the power is taken away and that people are revealed, the truth is revealed in some way, that power shifts again and realigns because, oh, well, the heiress is nobody if she's dead. And they have that whole conversation of like, well, what happens if you die, when she threatens to kill herself the first time.
Right.
And he's like, oh, it would be such a waste, all of your money. And it's like, oh, so her power isn't power, it's money.
Mm-hmm.
Your countess costume, even though she actually is like an heiress, means nothing if you die.
Right. Right.
And so this like constant handing off of the crown, removing it, like throwing it out the window, essentially, for this particular analysis of what that quote kind of plays throughout, is just like, power is a costume, right? And like, part of, again, going back to like why people like historical pieces, and like Europe still has this, where there are costumes of status, and it's livery, it's like regalia and finery, but it's also folk dress. Because Japan was westernized in the way that we understand it in this movie, like fairly recently. It was not far before the Empire of the Sun rose, which was, for this movie, 20 years before the movie is set. The westernizing of Japan was why like the Buddha statue was hidden in, it could have been that it was meant to be something very like wealthy, but also like Buddhism was brought to Japan by China. And there's like a lot of tension in the way that like religious practices are shown in these areas. It's why like Shinto was actually kind of banished by Buddhism when Japan was controlled by China.
I am so completely out of my depth. I didn't actually realize, because you were like the Buddha statue, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm such an idiot.
No. It comes and goes so quickly. I was trying to keep an eye on a lot of the like very cultural things that they were showing, and this movie is full of very subtle little showings, both for the story but also for the cultural specificity of this world that they are telling the story in.
Yeah.
The subtlety of the way that, like, you'll notice that some people wear kimono.
Yeah.
Some people wear English suits. And it's a sign of status, whereas now, like, if you go to Japan, people wearing kimono is, like, again, like the folk dress in Ukraine and in a lot of other places, it is seen as a sense of, I am representing my country. This is an honor for me to be able to wear this, and a revitalization of these practices, because it isn't just about what they look like, it's also about how they're made and why they're made. Like, the embroidery means something, the way that kimonos are dyed means something, and so
It's
that
incredible. Yeah.
practice of revitalization and nationalization, but also identity, is so tied to traditions of dress and folk dress. And it's why the European suit going into Japanese culture so prevalently is shown in this movie as an act of power, but also it is shown as an act of being current. So you notice the uncle almost never wears European clothes.
That's right.
He wears kimono because he wants to show, I am very Japanese, because they say very early on that he's actually Korean by birth.
Right.
And married into being Japanese.
That's right. Yeah,
and so
yeah.
he's saying, I am Japanese, I am Japanese, I am Japanese. Believe me when I say I am Japanese.
Yeah, he's really trying to suppress his actual heritage.
Yeah.
Which is I mean, if there's any, because he's a very vile character, if there's any empathy at all to that experience, I think it is about survival.
Yeah.
You know, but he's a particularly
God, he's
redeemable
real
character.
vile.
He's real vile.
Well, and the assimilationist story with him in particular, I'm very fascinated by, because my family, not only did we, on both sides, we did not bring over religious practices, we also did not keep our language. So any Japanese that I know, I learned through schooling and through culture, because I'm fourth generation. So I'm Yonsei was the term for Japanese people. I'm fourth generation Japanese here in America on both sides. So my dad's both of his parents, one of them legally, one of them illegally, came to America right at the fall of the old shogunate warlords and at the beginning of the rise of what will become the Empire of the Sun.
Incredible. Whoa.
Japanese politics are wild.
Wow. Between two monumental occurrences.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
And so the assimilationist of it all is also that like my grandmother, who had a Japanese name, almost exclusively went by her Christian name that she took instead, which was Mary, but her birth name was Fumiko. But because she was Catholic and her family converted, I think when she was very young, to Catholicism. I don't know what religious practices they had before then, but it's the destructive assimilationist nature of like, you will learn Japanese in this movie. They show that as you will learn Japanese, you will speak good Japanese, but you'll notice that when she wants to relax, she speaks Korean.
Right.
Because that's actually where she grew up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. That again, the code switching, the power dynamics, the who gets to call the shots, and the moments where you have to be able to adjust in order to survive or play your part accurately. All of that, it really overall speaks to like this interesting immigrant kind of assimilation storyline, but it really, I think, definitely brought to light in this movie that is so much about these these power games.
Yeah, which is why he's so violent when she doesn't speak Japanese well.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's right.
It's happening.
We're getting a very ominous cackle from the producer. Yes.
This is going to be a funny one because the order is not accurate.
Oh no!
Wow.
Wow.
Whoa.
Part three.
Whoa.
We did it.
So yeah, I think we should just keep rolling.
Let's do it.
So I don't want to put the place on blast. The cookie sandwich does not look like the picture.
Okay.
All right.
So the cookie sandwich is significantly different. And that is just a big...
That's just a cookie.
That's just two cookies. No, it's got some filling on the side there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're here.
Yeah. It's a sandwich. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
We did it.
Oh,
We win.
Fantastic.
Cheers. To the Handmaiden.
To the Handmaiden. Oh, yeah.
I love Erin McKenna. This is so delicious.
Oh, yeah. Erin McKenna.
Delicious.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're still here. We did it.
We did it.
Erin McKenna's Bakery came through for us during Ciclavia with a last-minute delivery order. So we're good.
Erin McKenna coming through.
Yeah.
Look.
Delicious.
Well, now that we have these cookie sandwiches here in front of us, let's talk a little bit about how this helping us connect to the movie a bit more. Yeah.
So one of the things I liked a lot about this movie was that there is an innocence, even though this movie is pitch black and full of all kinds of violence. The care and the like emotional growth in the story is very innocent and naive. Because even the like savvy, worldly side of the love story, they still don't know how to be in a relationship and love each other, and we get to see that as the really meaningful part of their story.
Yeah. Is
the lollipops. Is the like, look at you, you're my beautiful baby. One of the Stranger Things said in this movie.
Yeah. Or the what do I tell the count if I'm but what if I'm not in love with the count? What if I'm in love with somebody else? You learn to love the count, and how heartbreaking it is for the heiress to hear that, which caused her to literally attempt to commit suicide, which is so jarring, right?
Yeah. Which, another thing, by the way, I love that they signposted that so early on, where like she talks about someone hanging themselves from the tree, her aunt, and they show this rope.
It's just there.
And then when they run away, you see the rope hanging, and they do not explain it. And I was like, I need to know.
Right. That's that's sort of like how part one is wrapping up.
Yeah.
And in part two, you see
the whole story. But you see the handmaiden discover the rope in the hat box, and I was so enamored with that moment.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, there's something very sinister about this moment, and I love it. But yeah, inside of all of this, I think that there's a very sweet, young queer love story.
Yeah, yeah. I think that actually, if we can kind of, I want to say this cookie sandwich is really tasty. This is doing it for me. Erin McKenna, thank you.
I think they're gluten free.
And they're gluten free. Oh, dang. Okay. Wow. Wow. If we can pivot back for a second to some of the, the horror adjacent stuff in this movie, there's a lot of moments that you are shocked by. Some of them are in the way the story is told, that there are not so much as jump scares, but there are moments that are just so jarring, unexpected, that really make you unsettled. But then it's the fact that you're watching a movie that is suddenly doing something really explicit that you just didn't expect, and it kind of almost like, oh my god, my innocent little heart, like it messes with these. There's a lot of social taboos that are being messed with in the movie, and I think that in itself ends up being a little bit jarring because you're not expecting this movie to have a scene of child abuse where kids receiving corporal punishment that's really brutal. You don't expect somebody's fingers to get chopped off. You don't see it, but it's implied, and you understand it's what causes the suicide. But there's some really fucked up bestiality stuff happening with an octopus. So it's just like stuff that in this movie, if I was like, there's no way for you to know that going into the movie, and the fact that it's not just that these are twists that you don't see coming, but this is the stuff that you don't see coming. It really is like, I think anyone watching this movie will find something to be completely shocked by.
Yeah, just completely jarred by it. Well, it's also that like ambient energy of violence.
Yes.
When they show soldiers, they never show the soldiers do anything violent, but it's the whole idea that their presence is a violence. The uncle and the way that he talks, and like even the implication of the fake snake is all like an ambient aura that this story has of violence, of sexual violence, of institutionalized violence, of all of these things, really kind of driving home that this story really firmly said like oppression is violence. Yeah,
taboos in a loose sense, like things that we are uncomfortable discussing.
Yeah.
In this movie, there's like imprisonment.
Yeah.
Right. Wrongful imprisonment. There's the being committed to a mental institution. There's the idea of just being trapped in the house.
Yeah.
Right. There's the accusation of madness. There's the taboos of just sex. I think as a society we have a hard time talking about sex.
Well,
and
in
very
this era, specifically, like these cultures are not extremely very recently Korea's moved a lot more forward, but like Japan is not very LGBT friendly as a culture, and like Korea just what was it like 2 or 3 years ago legalized same-sex marriage.
Oh wow! Amazing.
So these are not very like queer progressive cultures that are telling this story too, so putting it in their lens and seeing like the explicitness of the queerness is not just a taboo, but it's like something that culturally, I watch a lot of like street interviews in Japan talking with just like people, asking them what their day-to-day experience is, and one of the ones that comes up is like, oh, and I'm gay, and then they'll be asked like, oh, so what is that like? And they say, well, I just don't talk about it. There's this like ambient thing in Japan of like, they don't put trash cans on the street in Tokyo because of one incident. It is very taboo for people to show tattoos because Yakuza and the tradition of tattooing is seen as violence. Men growing facial hair in Japan, they don't do it because it is associated with a history of violence.
Right.
And so it's this like undercurrent of all of these secrets and moments of violence that they just kind of fold into this. That are we don't talk about that because it's taboo to even discuss why we don't show this or do this. And so this movie was just like, oh no, these women are having sex.
Yeah. They're like, and by the way,
yeah,
these women are just having sex, and then we also know that we must never forget the basement
ever,
and we don't find out what the basement is until the end of the movie,
until the very end of the movie.
But just the fact that the uncle drops it, remember what's in the basement. So you're like thinking about what the fuck does that mean? You're seeing queer sex, and then you're also kind of just being left and right being thrown all these other elements, Oh,
hey,
yeah.
I just wanted to jump in. So,
Yes.
Guy, you made a point about South Korea legalizing same-sex marriage. They actually have it.
Oh, they haven't.
Yeah,
Whoa.
So there was, and that's why I just wanted to
thank
throw
you.
this
Yeah,
in.
good flag.
No, it's a really interesting point because it goes to exactly what you're saying. So they're recognizing the rights of same-sex couples.
There it is.
Specifically when it comes to like spousal benefits, healthcare, so forth and so on.
But not marriage.
But not actually recognizing same-sex marriage is, right? So
institute of
it's
marriage.
a very nuanced situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the
That's
queerness of this.
That's like more to your point, even. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Craig.
Thank you
Okay,
so much for
amazing.
that. Yeah, the queerness of this story is also like, it isn't just about femininity. It isn't just about power. It isn't just about the subservience of Korea to Japan in this moment in history. It is also just that the reason why I kind of call it their like punk rock road trip to Japan is because they're like, we're in love with each other, and it is a gay let's get this guy murdered road trip basically to Japan by the time they actually leave Korea. And even from a like 2016 Japanese and Korean lens, like, this is very taboo. These women are basically this poor thief woman is stealing this woman away from her ability to be married for her inheritance. Mm-hmm. And it's very like punk and very queer to be like, but we're in love.
Yeah. For just because we're in love, we're crossing all these social like boundaries. Yeah. Rewatching this movie for a second time, I was like, oh my god, I gotta keep coming back to this movie because there's so many things about it that just so. It's like when you watch it again, the little bits, little details that drop in, and I think this. I mean, honestly, I'm loving this conversation and how deep it's going. But our time together is coming to an end soon. But before it does, look, we had so many different iterations of potential sandwiches.
Yeah.
Okay. I like to play a game which is called Cast This Sandwich.
Okay.
So, because we have a lot of fantasy sandwiches, as in sandwiches that didn't materialize.
Yeah.
But we do have what's the name of the bakery? Erin McKenna's wonderful chocolate chip sandwich cookie. So let's try to cast this movie with all the varieties of sandwiches that could have been. Yeah. All the divergent storylines that could have happened.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So that would be a fruit sando. Mm-hmm. Which has cream, strawberries, and just like white bread.
It's milk bread. It's Japanese milk bread.
Oh, amazing. And we have confetti birthday cake cookie sandwich. And then we have what we actually ended up ultimately enjoying.
Yeah.
The chocolate chip cookie like icing cookie sandwich. Yeah. Wow.
So many sandwiches.
Okay. So to begin with, per the froth.
My vision when I was thinking about the fruit sando, the strawberries and cream on milk bread, was our heiress.
She's the strawberries and the cream.
Yeah. That she would be the like figure. It's very like ladylike because they are inspired by European tea sandwiches and things like that. And it's more the act of making it that would be the handmaiden.
Uh-huh.
And not just because it would be her role, but because like the care and the time that she spends. Her first part is a love story. There's almost no horror in it. It's just a slow love story that turns on a pin at the very end, and that's it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so like I think about the tooth filing and all of these little things that she does because she cares about her.
Honestly, the most erotic dentist to visit I've ever seen in my entire life.
Truly a wild
I didn't think that was a concept that could happen, but for to get more specific, there's a what is that?
It's like a thimble.
The handmaiden wears a thimble. The heiress complains about having a
sharp
tooth. I was like, what? And the handmaiden produces this thimble, and
sands down
her tooth, finger in her mouth, and it's
while the heiress is naked in a bathtub, having sucked on a lollipop for the entire earlier part of the scene.
There are just levels where I feel like I've never thought of a dentist's office or visit in anything but clinical and jarring terms, but this is a whole new.
It's also, I think, the first full frontal breast shot in the movie.
Yeah, it's also the way I'd like to go to the dentist from now on. I disrobe, I get into a bathtub, and then they do what they need to do.
No notes.
So
yeah, that's
dentists out there.
The fruit sando is like their relationship, right?
You're taking it to another level here. So in that, the heiress is the strawberry and cream, and the handmaiden is the milk bread.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
And like the care, because they're very presentary, right? They cut the bread a certain way. They make it so you can see the strawberries all laid out, which are also very sexual.
Yeah. For sure, yeah. So yeah, where do we feel like the Count really kind of comes in and sort of ends up being a bit of a carrying force in this movie? Because, I mean, he sets things up.
Yeah.
Right?
I think he's the illusory sandwich, the sandwich that never was, the sprinkle sandwich.
The sprinkle sandwich. Oh, the entire sandwich.
He's
is
at least
count.
the sprinkles on the sprinkle sandwich.
The sandwich that never was. Then we have Erin McKenna's.
Yeah.
The
real hero.
The real hero.
The love story
It's
at the
here.
end, the mustache that we peel off and throw into the ocean.
That's right. The here and the now. That's right. So who in that sandwich do we think is, because I think that sandwich probably brings everybody together.
Oh yeah, that's got to
Okay.
be everybody.
So we've got the handmaiden, we've got the heiress, we've got the count, and we've got the uncle.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the uncle is the bitterness in the chocolate.
Ooh. Yeah.
That just kind of like is definitely a part of the experience and you enjoy it, but it's also definitely like the rest of it is so sweet and wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, there's a sting to that.
Yeah.
Just
Kind of-
talking about him, kind
Yeah,
of, he
it-
skeeves
it-
me
it
out
skeeves
so
me out.
bad.
Yeah. His like ink black tongue is
Oh yeah, that was
so
such a wild
grotesque.
touch.
Okay, he's the bitterness of the chocolate, that skeevy crazy
Creep.
man. Okay, what about the count now?
Hmm.
We kind of need the count.
Yeah, we do.
to like take the focus of the uncle. Maybe he's the cookies. Or do you think that's too much for the count?
I think he might be the present, substantive, but altogether only the thing that makes it work. The cream.
Oh, you think he's the cream?
Yeah.
He's the sticky stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the sticky middle.
Uh-huh. He kind of binds everybody together.
Yeah.
Okay, I see
Because
that.
he's the one that actually travels in all the circles.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. Yeah. He is the glue that binds, right?
Yeah.
And without him, we don't actually get the opportunity to get these two characters liberated.
Well, and the uncle doesn't die without
And the
him.
dark uncle doesn't die. Those crazy blue cigarettes.
I love that they showed those so many times.
Yeah.
It made me just go, what are
fuck?
these?
Yeah,
What are these?
yeah.
And then
Don't smoke blue cigarettes, kids.
No, don't. But then the cookies, obviously, are the two women.
It's our couple.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Oh, we did
yeah,
this.
we did it.
Amazing. That's our okay, great. We cast this sandwich. So, our original fruit sando is the queer love story.
Yeah.
That was promised. In the execution, we had a fantasy sandwich that was mostly dominated by the count, kind of meddling around, and then the count ends up becoming the glue that binds it all, being the sticky, not so substantive, but definitely very binding agent of the cookie sandwich, with the bitterness of the chocolate chips relegated to the creepy uncle. And our two cuties in love, the queer cuties in love, are the cookies.
Yeah.
This is great. Hey, we did it.
We did it. We did it.
Kai, it's been such a blast to have you here on the show. I'm so glad you're here. Honestly, would love to talk to you about so many more movies and so many more things, and just talk about this movie ad
Forever.
nauseum. So we have to have you back on at some point. Kai, I feel like you're doing a million things. I just want to kind of shout out that Kai is currently nominated for a bunch of awards for their streaming work. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us how we can become your biggest fans.
Oh my
And yeah, tell us how do we become Kai number ones?
Oh my gosh. Well, you can find me all over the internet as Estelle of Imladris, where I am a tabletop performer, writer, world builder, costumer, costume designer, costume historian. The list is very long. Most of my work can be seen over on Transplanet RPG, which is an all-transgender, people of color-led dark fantasy actual play series set in a non-colonial, anti-Orientalist multiverse where I play a sad dad cowboy. And it's great. And if you're not familiar with actual play, it is people using systems like Dungeons and Dragons, so just like game books, to tell stories. And so most of what I do is working within the confines of rules or scripts or whatever to then tell a story. And that's kind of how I explain it, both costume design, because I'm working with a script, or through research, working with history and the stuff that I'm supposed to be looking into, or through tabletop where there are rule sets and I follow those and roll dice and have a lot of fun while telling deep and meaningful stories about culture and who we are as a people. And most of what I do is also, video. And so I do a lot of costuming for that as well. And you can also find me writing books and games for upcoming stories and a bunch of other interviews and informational things like this all over the internet.
Kai, such a pleasure. And thank you all so much for tuning in to Scary Movie and a Sandwich. We hope you join us next time. And until then, stay hungry and stay scared.